one priceless moment in the whole history of man. All the people on this earth are truly one.
welcome to the Boise State Esports Arena. Tonight you're going to be watching our coverage of Mountain West, and we are shifting our attention away from Valorant and going over towards Overwatch. Now, while the game has changed, the players have changed, the arena and the faces that are bringing you all the action have not. It's still going to be Rich Rad and Nerdy Bird here on desk calling all the action for you while Rich is in his own studio. Of course, I am here in the BSU Stadium, and you can see our Broncos all warmed up and ready to go on stage to take on Utah. This is, once again, it's Mountain West. Broncos are currently undefeated. Utah is 3-3, and one of those losses was actually delivered by the Broncos. Very first game of Mountain West was against Utah, and it was the Boise State team to walk away with the victory. Now, Rich, with that being said, what adjustments do you think any squad, not just Utah, has to really make? And I'm going to completely throw this out there. You're not allowed to say don't go Kings Row because that's my line every time.
Okay.
But what advice?
Do go Kings Row. I'm just kidding.
What advice would you be giving this Utah squad? Because actually, there is history here that exists. While we are not like super big rival schools, the University of Utah's coach, TCS, is actually a friend of multiple players on the Overwatch team and our past graduates as well. And so, while they've been improving and getting better, there is a friendship and camaraderie that exists. So, knowing that sort of information, what would you be kind of like expecting and like, telling the side of Utah to do going into this first game?
I mean, the biggest benefit right now is realistically, we just had Pro-Am start in week 1. We had qualifiers. We've seen a lot of top tier quality level teams perform at the highest level and see what has worked, what type of strategies and methodologies when they go to these selective maps that are available. And I think that can be a really strong blueprint to understand what type of additional adaptations and growth opportunity there is to the structure that already pre-exists going into this, since we know that Boise State has had individuals that have competed in contenders level, tier 2, and this upper type of echelon. For an opponent like that, I think it's extremely vital for them to now be able to recognize what type of play style that Boise has, but also how they can elevate themselves when seeing upper level professional players, such as in the Pro-Am, are contributing into these, and what works for them can also potentially trickle into what works to counteract against Boise State.
I couldn't agree with you more. Additionally, my biggest thing would be, be prepared to run the marathon. This isn't going to be a sprint to the finish.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the Broncos are going to want to sprint, but you run the marathon, you wear them out, and you go all 5 maps. And of course, that first map pick you can see down here right below me is going to be Ilios for our first control point. I love Ilios. I'm glad we're not going to Lijiang. I'm glad we're kind of done with starting on Lijiang or Busan every single time. But with that being said, of course, our advice going towards the side of Utah is a little bit null and void, because there is a man who trumps everyone's advice when it comes to any esport in the realm of college, and that is Doc. And so Doc is going to give us Doc's keys to the game, which are going to be brought to us by Drop In Gaming. And actually, we're going to jump into those a little later, but I can probably tell you what those keys are just from memory because I've heard them way too many times. But with that being said, on Ilios, so we can focus on that map. Do you have any sort of like anticipation of what I'm going to center it down to one role? What do you think we're going to be seeing on DPS here?
I was hoping for that tank conversation, but we'll go with the DPS. So I mean, realistically, the Tracer is a big discussion topic right now, because this backline flanking harassment, the TVT, has been something that has really risen to power. Also, just this unique type of adaptation. We've seen a little bit of Ashe that comes into the mix. Sombra has also kind of trickled its way in, depending upon the submap that we go to for this map specifically. Those are the kind of things that I initially look out. The Tracer most specifically, because that level of play, and if uncontested or unmarked, can be so oppressive. The value that it contributes to what we've been seeing recently in this competitive play, especially when we look at a lot of the scrims that have been exposed all over either Reddit, Twitter, or many other locations from these top level teams. That is something that is extremely relevant. And when we talk about even some of those big names like Proper, MVP, previous 2022, like winner of those awards, Rookie of the Year, everything within their, realm of performance, what the Tracer can do, that's what I'm most looking into, because it's just, I think, a very compelling type of hero to bring into the mix, but also the way that they execute on it.
And we have our own kind of Proper in training on the side of the Broncos. That is, of course, Clear, who is an absolute demon, a powerhouse on that Tracer when uncontested. We also have Plato, who is fantastic at playing that Reaper character, which, when you have that Tracer that's going in the backlines, you can follow up with the Genji, you can follow up with the Sombra, but typically you have a a DPS that is off doing their own thing, getting heals as needed, but relying on their own sustainability. And that is your Tracer who's capable of doing that. That is your Sombra player. And then you have that DPS that is going to be in the back pocket of your tank or your back pocket of your supports. That's where you get the Reaper with the Reinhardt, you get the Cassidy, or you can even get the Ashe or Soldier 76. Now, we are going to be starting out on runes. With that being said, we might see a Widowmaker, but the Broncos have done enough scouting. They know they don't technically need to bring out the oppressive force that is Widowmaker, but the side of Utah might try to. However, considering the fast and furious playstyle the Broncos like to bring to the table, I would advise against it.
And, you touched on Clear specifically. We got to see some performance when it came to Timeless in Pro-Am, what they've been able to bring to this type of team. And now looking at it from this collegiate standpoint, I'm really going to keep a watchful eye onto it. Even got a chance to cast Clear back when they were here in Illinois before being brought into Boise State, and the development that they've had among the rest of this roster. It's just exciting to see what is ahead of us as they enter in onto this first map.
And it looks like we're going to have Kel coming in for tank in this game. Goblin's going to be on the Sombra for DPS. Clear is going to be on the Widowmaker for DPS. Lyric is playing the Ana, and Bagel is on Zenyatta to round out the support portion of the roster. Rose Dog is going to be running the Wrecking Ball. So mirror tanks and mirror Widowmakers, but then Warrior is on Genji, and then we have Brig and Lucio. So this is a spread out, make havoc and sustain style comp, but when the Broncos are able to pick you off one by one because you're not playing to your own play style, that is a problem.
Yeah, Goblin on this Sombra has just been working wonders. The hacks have so far been really impeccable. And again, Clear, typically if you want to go towards this Sombra Tracer type of methodology to coexist with Kel, they can be really dominant, but at this point they've not needed to opt into it, looking to try and take that trade against Cats, who does have this Widowmaker themselves, looking for that hit scan battle. And since Boise State is in a prime position already holding onto this, it's really up to how Utah is going to look for entry, where Rose Dog really hasn't been able to gain access to get some decent pile drives or find any applied pressure onto the flank.
It is a sleep and then volley orb coming out from Bagel and Lyric to keep that Wrecking Ball at bay, as well as Goblin getting hacks on the ball as necessary when he's able to point out when ball is going after his supports. Again, we can see Kel here. He's gonna look in, swing through, just create havoc, gets the pile drive. Nothing to do against the Kel on that Wrecking Ball from the enemy team. We do lose Lyric and Goblin, who got too big for their britches. Bagel goes for the kick in the face just to sustain himself a little bit longer. Bagel goes down, but Clear picks up too, and the Diva swap is helping out the side of Utah. Swap might have come a little bit late.
Yeah, you have Clear coming in saying anything you can do, I can do better. Gets two to their own name, still 62% climbing. Despite the numbers disadvantage at the start, there's some great stability and recovery here. Utah unable to get back and cycle to the position to be able to swap this over, as it's still free percentage gained by Boise.
We have Rally, Self-Destruct, Blade, and Sights coming online from the side of Utah. We could use a Self-Destruct to try and gain space, but the speed that the Broncos have means that it's going to be difficult to kill them, because if they're out in the open, they have a get-out ability. If they're not, there is Zenyatta that's playing natural cover. Epoch pops Rally. We hear Warrior still not popping Blade yet, but Epoch gets dangerously low. And Bagel decides to shoot a deflecting Genji and send himself to the spawn. Interesting choice.
I mean, the biggest thing here is you had Boise State, I think, become a little overzealous here. They've been really controlling a lot of this map. They find themselves not really having any trouble to it. They overcommit the ultimates. They push too far forward. As I say that, though, that was just a nutty nade for a quick bolo up front, coming in from Kel with a follow-up by the DPS. Boise State, despite having the too few, transcends to be the only one held in the pocket to throw out for this final fight engagement. Utah now scrambling to even get onto this point with numbers to dominate over Boise because of the heavy movement and their ability to recontest onto this. No one can pick them up. There's finally a couple of pickups to counteract it, but in the long run, Kel's just gonna keep finding skulls.
What Bagel did was actually calculated. Yeah, the trans won't save a team from a self-destruct, but it can get a Zen on the point, contest the self-destruct, not die to a Diva remake, and give his team opportunity to actually find extra picks. Clear playing patiently and in the background, able to get the multi-kills as the Diva's just looking a little confused, like how the heck did my Tracer just take damage? I thought I was DMing him, but either way, we can see here, we've had the Tracer swap. Clear backs off. The kill is not confirmed. I don't think this Tracer even pinged where Clear ended up going, and that is the bane of everyone's existence, is a Widowmaker uncontested, her location unknown, as well as a Zenyatta with the cross angle.
How about we call it?
Well, we talk a lot about
How
the Widow
about I
having
call
a
him
surprise
Mortish?
factor. And in this case, when you're in a 99 to overtime position like that, unfortunately, your focus is trying to continue to stay on to the point. So Clear is just able to draw back, make space, free angles, and really be completely uncontested because you cannot abandon ship.
Not in a 99 situation, and now we have some slight swaps. We have Clear going over to the Sojourn, Goblin still on that Sombra. We saw EMP didn't kill a whole lot, but we have a Doomfist, knowing that the Broncos have favored going to the Sombra might not be the best pick, as Rose Dog's immediately set to spawn. Epoch follows shortly thereafter. Hack onto Cats. Cats is deleted. Now it's just this Genji and a Lucio somewhere praying for the opportunity to get out alive and not force a longer reset period, but Warrior overstayed their welcome. We do see that Kiriko came forward as well to help this Doomfist, and they are staggering forward.
Yeah, I mean, Utah at this moment is looking more so to try and have a coordinated dive with Rose Dog, Cats, and Billy, but unfortunately, they're not able to outmatch it. They're forcing out so many cooldowns from Rose Dog early, and there's no assistance with this Kiriko to dive forward. You like to typically combine them together because the Kiriko with the Suzu buys a little bit more of a window of opportunity for an execution, especially with their damage output. But in this moment, they've not been able to have a stable engagement onto this because Boise State continues to either run them in circles or cause disruption.
I really think trying to force this Doomfist in is a bad idea. You've got a Zen who plays distance. You have Clear with the slide ability to get out. You have a Hack. Wrecking Ball is just going to be running away. Doomfist is not going to find value. You're trying to fit this square peg into a round hole for too long, just like in the first map. Truthfully, a Diva to help deal with the Sombra would be better here in this instance, instead of trying to take these 1v5 engages to absolute spam.
And Clear at this point just taking a flanking angle, free-firing, charging up these rail shots so rapidly, has the overclock available, multiple ultimates online, Goblin really being the only one sacrificed in that engagement now as it's already 65% declining. Utah only having truly Rose Dog at the moment to be able to utilize, and Kel at this point can just cause disruption consistently from this high ground, the minefield to stagger them out to even touching the point, and just puts Utah in such an uncomfortable position.
Really important to understand what the win condition of each team's comp is. In this instance, we have the Broncos with coming in, spamming out, forcing abilities, being disruptive, and then following up with the long-range spam. Clear popping that overclock, getting a three-piece combo. It is just this Doomfist. Rose Dog looking for an opportunity to touch and go on point. Gonna activate that Meteor Strike for extra time. We have a Hack drop. There goes the Transcendence. Rose Dog with a sliver of health, a hope, and a dream gets hacked and absorbed. Does absolutely no good for them. And there is the Ant Matrix posted outside of spawn. Broncos walk away on Elios with a 2-0 victory. And I really think there's a reason why I avoided asking you about tank lineups. And that is because the amount of flexibility and depth in the hero rosters that we have for our tanks. We can let Clear have his moment, but is this really a surprise to anyone that Clear got play of the game?
Is it worthy for me to say there was a clear ending to this? I'm sorry. I had to, fam. I had to. I know.
It's understandable. We can both go after so many puns. I appreciate and I love that. With that being said, though, I mean, there's a reason why I avoided the tank play here. It's because the tank can make or break a comp. And the tank, it really comes down to a tank's ability to understand the win condition of an enemy team's comp and know when they need to swap. And stop trying to force the Wrecking Ball into a Wrecking Ball matchup when you're playing into a Sombra. Stop trying to force the Doomfist when you're not only playing into a Disruption Blade Wrecking Ball with a Sombra, you're playing into a Zenyatta who's just going to be playing back, discording you, and then a Clear who's on the Sojourn to follow up, and Ana that can then sleep you thereafter. That sort of stuff. You need to understand the win condition of an enemy team. It's brawl. It is disruption and spam for the Broncos for the last two maps, and we continue to try and force a semi-brawl comp into it with the disruption coming out from a Wrecking Ball. It's just not going to work. You cannot have a core unit into a spam comp that is trying to sustain when there is disruption onto that core unit. It was just a matter of trying to create two identical comps and one doing it better than the other.
And the other dynamic of this, too, when it comes to looking at Utah specifically and what they're bringing to the table, the Doomfist isn't a bad pick, but the problem is that there's just some disconnection to their entry every time. There's no coordination directly with the Sombra, and when the Kiriko being in, you know, a lot of viable options where you dive in alongside the Doomfist, you have the Suzu if necessary to get yourself out of a jail-free card. You look to basically have the Stealth Sombra, the Doomfist, and the Kiriko all at once, timed perfectly. Look for the execution onto the Zenyatta and just remove them from the equation. You eliminate that Discord Orb. Everything sounds so perfect, and hopefully you're not looking to overcommit too many cooldowns. But the problem is that they were never even into a position to be able to get to that point. They were always more so just trying to regain stability in their foundation whenever Kel comes in with that disruption.
And there were instances where there needed to be a full team reset, and then we'd see literally 1 or 2 people on point get killed, and then we'd see the Doomfist push out of spawn and not wait for these people to come back. It's essential with the Doomfist, as you said, to coordinate. You need that support to follow up with you. You need a DPS to follow up with you. Otherwise, you're going to get eviscerated. And if anyone noticed, I'm pretty sure, Rich, you did as well, I facepalmed, and that is because what I have advised multiple teams not to do is being done here. I understand the knee-jerk reaction of, oh, we lost first map. We're going to hybrid. Let's go Kings Row. Stop doing it. Broncos have lost this map 5 times.
So I was right again by saying go to Kings Row, right?
Yeah, you're correct. And it is getting very painful for me. So Utah has decided to go Kings Row. I don't know what type of Hail Mary strategy they are pulling out from the heavens here, because you can't go Brawl on this map anymore. It is not just Brawl. Broncos, yeah, if they really feel like they need to, they will go Brawl v Brawl into you. But they have since graduated from needing to use the time of old Brawl comp on this map. They know how to run a hybridized version of Clockwork that they have now, you know, taken on to this point. They know how to run a pharmacy on this point into a half Clockwork map composition. They know how to run spam. They know how to run disruption. This is no longer we know what teams are bringing to this map and we know what we need to do on each individual point like it was in the days of old of Overwatch 1. This is anything goes so long as you can make it fit. Kings Row is played to the extent that it is perfect. It is now the perfect map for every team. Stop picking it as the second map.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like digging a little bit deeper into what we could potentially see, I mean, some of the big factors is the utility of Winston. I mean, in comparison to what we talk a lot about, yeah, Winston, absolutely, Winston jump, Winston zap, Winston sad. But we can, you know, look at what these significant differences are, because when we come to the Wrecking Ball and we talk about the setup and we talk about the dive, there's a lot of mental bandwidth that is necessary to get you to the chance of executing on that, because you have to understand the angular momentum, the speed aspect of it, getting the right angle. Whereas the Winston is more so the on-demand entry. You don't have to have the setup necessary to be able to execute on that. And that's why I would really like to see it if they do want to bring something a little bit more dive-centric that they can utilize to coordinate and find value against the opponent. Or, as you mentioned about the Brawl composition with the Reinhardt, we've seen some adjustments when it comes to Bastion even thrown into the mix here, which is a wild one to see when it comes to collegiate. But as we enter in onto this map, we'll be able to get full evaluation of what we have ahead of us, as we do see the Cassidy pickup by Clear, which is extremely impressive, but the Goblin Junker Queen is what my eye fixates on.
I'm here for the Goblins, JQ. The Broncos, they're like, yeah, they pulled out a Kiko. I think we can deal with it. But we've got a full Brawl composition coming out from the side of Utah. It's just, here's the problem. They are not, at least on that first engage, they did not use cooldowns advantageously. You need to use that Mei wall to engage, not so much when you're running into a spam comp like the Broncos have. They have a surround and composition. You'll have to use this wall to give you an angle to get in. Instead, we just walled our Reinhardt in his charge and got him killed.
The biggest challenge right now is Bagel just chilling. Like, Bagel chilling on that high ground in the back is going to just have free sightlines. This whole defensive side. Like, there needs to be some kind of opportunity of eliminating that from the equation.
He's getting toasted and putting jelly on his bagel right now. He's chilling.
Is it strawberry or like raspberry?
It's always strawberry.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'll also join you in that bandwagon. We do see some chaos ensuing, but unfortunately it's going to be Utah finding themselves on the short end of the stick, being able to bear so much of the burn, with now already a minute and a half off the clock. 5 ultimates online right now, and you can see the grin on their faces, knowing that they are in a very dominant position, with Clear getting a cheeky angle.
Clear is cooking. However, the tragedy that truly struck in that last moment, I don't know if anyone else saw it, we had An amplification matrix gets committed, a fire strike through it, and no one tracked the Genji deflex. And there was a Genji deflex through the through that amp fire strike. Now we have Clear getting nanoed with a Mercy pocket, having a heyday on a ball, undeterred, not scared, because he's like, no matter how much damage you do, my support's got me in this instance.
I'm pretty sure that I just saw Clear leaning back in their chair versus leaning forward with intent. So at that point, yeah, they're feeling calm, cool, and collected. There's a separation onto Clear, left in the Blizzard, frozen to the core, but there is a retaliating Dragon Blade, which comes out perfectly because Matt Merck reads all of the cooldowns that are expended into this. You have the Cryo Freeze, the Blizzard's been put out, the disengage opportunity for Utah is no longer there, which leaves that Blade to do everything they want.
We do have a tank swap. Finally swapping over to the Zarya can be huge. They use the wall, lock down the angles. That's a double kill. Bagel and Goblin go down, but Clear finds Rose Dog. This is the issue when you run one of these, you know, what was once considered an off tank, and that is like the D.Va and the Zarya. There is so much support that needs to be committed into those tanks due to the lack of, you know, there isn't a shield that I can just meter and keep alive, keep me alive. There is no, you know, Nemesis form. There's no take a breather. Supports have to commit a lot of util to keep a tank alive, and unfortunately Rose Dog went down. But Goblin gets walled and mauled. You can see 4 people in on that committed kill to the 2 R4 JQ for the side of the Broncos. Matt Merck goes down, and they commit the Mei ult. Might not have needed it, but they really are hungry to pick up Lyric. Oh, Lyric. Lyric.
They're trying to put insult to injury right now because they know that if they can get these staggered picks, it guarantees them getting out of that archway, where you can really see Boise State hold them and deny them accessibility for the later portion of Streets phase. So I do really like this, though, from Utah. This proactive play to stagger out these players because Boise State's had such a clench on this initial defensive hold. This is going to bode well for Utah to recover. But as we do take a look at the composition, I wouldn't be surprised if Goblin switches. There it is, going to go on to the Ramatra. Interesting to see them switch to this, but looking to see what the value is. They even have a nano-boosted Lyric right now, who's going to get the takedown.
Did he just go for the Hurricane? He's going for the Hurricane! It is Katrina happening outside of point 2 right now for the Broncos.
I really didn't think I was going to see a nano-boosted Mercy get a triple kill today. But, you know, sometimes the things that you anticipate in the day, wild cards come out, and that wasn't on my bingo card. As we now have 1:50 where Utah is actually able to get through this archway, but the sneaky play. It's crouching, tiger, hidden, Clear. That's what's happening right now. With the flanking position. Beautiful wall, though. They commit the sound barrier, though. Oh, no. So they've overcommitted into this, and it's going to dissipate, and now there's an opportunity for re-engagement. Cats is looking to round the corner. They don't have the Blizzard. This is getting a little discombobulated with 1 minute and 20 seconds. A grab is going to be a massive turnaround here, though. Again, they realize that that is a win condition, getting rid of the support play and slowing them even further. This is extremely well done by Utah.
Broncos are getting a little too big for their britches. They're trying to do the silly stuff. Stop it. You need to respect Utah State a little bit more. They know you guys. They know how you like to play, and they are playing. Whenever you make one of these blaring mistakes that you are handing on a silver platter to them right now, they are gobbling it up and spitting our own goblin out.
Oh, another Blizzard being held on to. Instantly going to get 2 with that Deadeye as well. This is now starting to look a little disastrous because there's a decent amount of time to work through this, especially with how they're able to once again stagger. The only benefit to Boise is that there was enough taken down within quick succession that they should have a full regroup of 5 to be able to counter this. And also having Annihilation, too.
Lyric and Clear, what are you two doing?
Clear just having a field day in the back.
Yeah, but Lyric came in too late, could not save Clear, had to use the Guardian as the crouch jump angle to turn. It's fine. It bought extra time by pulling everyone to turn around and look at Clear. And now this is where I know that the Broncos are actually, this might seem like a troll pick, but this is them taking it seriously. They pulled out the Bastion, and a lot of our DPS have been loving Bastion play lately.
the Annihilation is going to be the real equalizer here, though. Going into the Kiriko ultimate, they're denying it. They can't disengage from this fast enough, so it's going to gain and yield its maximum duration of time, getting to and stabilizing, stemming the bleeding for now with only just over 60 seconds.
Go into this next fight. It looks like Epoch and Rosedog coming up on that sound barrier, but Graviton Surge is going to come first. It's going to come down to Matt Merck getting a deflect on it, I think, to prevent an absolute evisceration of the Broncos. The Cats goes down, as does Billy Spike. Clear goes down to Warrior. Warrior goes down to Goblin. We're going to get a res, and that's an opportunity for the Broncos to stay forward. Clear almost has that artillery formation, and that is going to be a huge issue for the side of Utah.
Just because Clear is in the proper skin, you can't catch me, I'm the Ginger Bastion man, as there is going to be a flanking angle right now. Blade comes out to open. This is going to be very dangerous because there's a lot of cooldowns available, but it's not going to matter. There's still 2 eliminations, and Clear can just sit idly in the back and wait 20 seconds to go. They are for sure denying any completion by Utah, and they are not even going to get back into touch at this rate.
Clear is doing Clear things, getting ready to post up and drop down the artillery. Cats, you know what? I commend you for going a different angle. Broncos might actually die here, but there isn't time to touch the payload because they're fighting so far forward. The grab did nothing. Epoch went down first, and there was no speed around the Graviton Surge to get to the point. And with that, there is the win condition set. There is a double-edged sword with attacking first. Attacking first, you get an extra fight. But you create the win condition for the enemy team who attacks second. And Utah, unfortunately, did not make it all the way to the end.
Nope. And again, it really came down to... Boise State, I will admit, did allow themselves to become vulnerable to their aggression. They started to get stagger picked. They realized that they needed to re-evaluate how they wanted to go into these fights, but then it started to swap. The fact that they got those couple of initial picks onto Utah within the Kitsune Rush, if they did not overcommit the Kitsune Rush and that the Annihilation came out first where they could bring that into the next fight and manage these ultimates where they've been a little bit more overzealous to throw them into the mix. They've been a little reckless with them. I think they could have actually been able to stabilize after the Annihilation comes through with the Kitsune Rush so that they can look for completion. But, you know, neither here nor there now as we take the swap of sides and see how they opt to compete against Boise State, who's coming out on the attack, and as you mentioned, know exactly how far they have to go. Oh, look at that.
That's so sweet.
It's so much love. We're just gonna admire it for a moment. We're just leaving silence for that. I'm glad that you did as much as I did to just let that soak in.
Horrible.
Yeah. As now the doors open and the reckless killing begins. Hook goes wide from Goblin on this Roadhog, which again we've not really seen too much of in a lot of upper level play. There are rare occasions that we've seen it, but seeing if they can bring it to the table here. Nice shot by Clear, still holding that high ground position. And with the numbers advantage and the rotation around the statue, Bagel finds a second. It's both supports down, and this is guaranteed point capture.
Anyone that knows Goblin, and I've had the pleasure of queuing into him on ladder on tank enough times to know that he does not enjoy the meta. He would rather turn everyone into a pulled pork sandwich, invite them over to a barbecue. Let's have some swine together, and he's just going to yoink and eviscerate anyone that he can. And that is why we also have Bagel on that Lucio player, so that you can just continue to have speed go forward. Clear has no choice but to be the resident shopper, asking, do you need anything from Costco? I'll make a bulk stop. And now we have our May coming in. Cats goes for the contest, but that's both of their, that's one cooldown, there's both cooldowns, and Cats is going to be in one-hit territory. But Clear drops down, taking a risky move, getting to like, I think, 3 health, and still wins. Gonna go back, swap over something else, I think is a good idea. Or just using, yeah, Clear swapping over, gets to the Cassidy. You know, we're mirroring Cassidy's, not mirroring tanks. Matt Merck sitting at pretty low health. Finally gets healed up as they all back off to try and make sure they can get this archway. The issue is that Rosedog has grab, and Cats is coming in on the May, and that means they need to push back to Utah, just like Utah State pushed back the Broncos from this area.
5 minutes on the time bank. Finally gets the grab between 2 defensive shields, but that damage is going to be significant. That's the one caveat here is Rosedog because of the play from Goblin, is just pumping damage into these shields, which guarantees the extra throughput by Utah on the defense. But the Blade might be able to equalize here. Both bubbles have been expended. Isuzu giving a brief moment of reprieve for them to get it back online, as it's still now a hold into the archway. Blizzard gets tossed, locks down one, but no, Bagel escapes with the movement speed for the squad, and they are out clean as a whistle.
Here's where the real tragedy starts to sink in. They've committed Grav, they've committed Mail, two massive CC ultimates from the side of Utah, and what did the Broncos not use? They didn't use their own feet. So they have something in the back pocket. There's the Kitsune Rush, there's the beat coming out from Utah. Bagel commits his beat as well, equalizing out this fight, gets out alive, they disengage, they're gonna re-engage as soon as that Kitsune Rush is down. Epoch goes down. This is the go button here for the Broncos, and Clear already has Deadeye online.
Yeah, wonderful time here. I mean, the wall came out so early from Utah that when the sound barrier was active, it fell, so they could just escape out, having just enough fortification to withstand the Kitsune Rush. And the retaliation, as you mentioned, once it's down, is just so much more in their favor, because the Kitsune Rush is either you try and fight in it and force them out of it, or you just have to abandon ship. And in that point, they were able to get out of it, play the corner because of the positioning from Billy, and not really have to worry too much about it.
The other tragedy that was that situation is that in most Overwatch situations, the Lucio that beats second in an aggro situation is the one that's going to win, and the Broncos ended up winning because that beat lasts a little bit longer. You just need to get that extra inch of sustain, and that's what the Broncos are looking for. But we have a Males online. We're going to lose Matt Merck, who walled and iced in the same spot. Clear returns, rounding corner, uses Deadeye, gets a double kill. Goblin picks up a couple. Lyric reses Matt Merck, and that is a point locked down for the Broncos, and the end is in sight.
I mean, it follows the same type of methodology like you mentioned. Whoever beats second seems to sustain longer. Whoever blizzards second also manages to win the fight more often than not. I believe in like the 80th percentage when we talk about that, at least at pro level. So in moments like those, that's why you've got Boise State taking this. Now Goblin looking for the re-entry. The annihilation is here. They've looked to eradicate all that remain of Utah, zoning them back, bodying the front. The shield placement is there despite the grab landing. It's only a few meters remaining, and now it's going to be Boise throttling to the spawn.
Not to mention, we had the Nemesis form. We used the block as long as we could in that moment. May also cryo blocked on the right side with our ROM on the left. We created a defensive wall using our utility and bodies. No ults required to survive as Matt Merck picks up Katsu and no recall and no cooldown. Epoch just trying to get a skate on the point. Warrior, Billy all go down. Rose, who goes on the ball to get a last second touch, also goes down. And that is the end of game 2 going to the Broncos. That being said, it's probably going to be another clear POTG near the end of the map, just saying. Oh no, it's Matt Merck!
No, it's going to be Matt Merck, even though we thought it was going to be it's high noon somewhere in the world. It's actually Yuga Wakateki Okura! No, that's the other one. That's never mind. I'm getting my accents messed up in my characters, but that's okay. Dragonblade coming in for 3. I just had a moment. I had a moment of where I went into character, so we'll just let that one kind of sit.
It's
for
totally
a minute. You
fine.
can all just sit back and accept it.
I'm still asking my Japanese ancestors why I can't climb walls, and yet Genji, Kiriko, and Hanzo all can climb walls, because that gene apparently skipped me.
It's okay. You know, sometimes we don't get lucky in the gene pool. And for me, it's my knees. That's why I can't, I can't walk that much. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. That's just old age. We're deviating away to other things. We need to talk specifically about what just happened, which is realistically Boise State just being able to run this so perfectly. Like, they have really understood how to control tempo in this game. They're taking significant fight advantages. They're really reading their opponent, and they're able to outmatch them in an ult economy 9 times out of 10, it seems.
I'm going to be honest with you. You're right, but they got a little too silly and a little too goofy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have lost point 1 at all. But with that being said, we have gone from control, we've gone to hybrid, and now it's time for escort. Once again, I'm going to ask you, before it pops up, because we got to do this quickly. Crap, there it is.
Too bad. I would love to see, Circuit Royal. Oh, hey, look at that. We're going to... I didn't see it.
I swear production was like, oh, Artie's giving us the cue to do maps, and I was trying to be like, before it pops up, and they're like, no, here it is. So it's Circuit Royale.
Sorry.
This is where it gets scary.
Yeah. I mean, this is, though, where we do see things, again, go to another type of composition. We initially had, Wrecking Ball, we had Doomfist, we had high dive mobility when it comes to control. We go to King's Row, we have a lot more brawl, we have a lot more like close encounters. Now this is where we're going to take a dabbling into the Sigma. This is where Sigma is a very, very high selected pick. It's just one of those things where you take a look at potentially the Sojourn, potentially the Widowmaker, even potentially some Echo play when you want to take some elevated high angle. So there's a variety of different things that we can bring into this. And Utah at this point is just trying to see what they could throw at the wall and stick.
Things are about to get a little bit interesting because Matt is going to be taking over Goblin's spot, so probably rotating into that tank position. With that being said, Kel is typically our resident Sigma sleeper. He is very good at playing Sig. Of course, yes, Matt Merck is also a demon on any tank that you hand him. And then we're also going to have Daydream is going to be rotating in for Bagel. So I anticipate we're going with a very hit scan heavy composition going into this. I mean, Daydream does spend quite a lot of time learning that Baptiste, but they're going into the main support role, which we could anticipate seeing Daydream on that Mercy and, pocket boosting one of the hit scan. Now, additionally, this is a map that if you don't anticipate the unexpected, you are going to be knee deep up the creek without a paddle. I say that because there is an entry point on the right-hand side that very few characters can access. That is a Hanzo, that is a Genji, that is a Junkrat, that is a Kiriko, and that is a Mercy, and a Pharah and a Widowmaker in some instances. And that is outside of attacker spawn on the right-hand side. You can use your abilities to get over that wall. You have to time it very perfectly, but it is the most chaotic entry I have seen from a lot of DPS. It creates a lot of mayhem, and it makes it very difficult for teams to survive who don't anticipate it. Now, am I saying that Utah's going to do that? No, because the Broncos know too much about it. However, am I saying the Broncos might do it? Yeah. I am.
It's because it really breaks the foundation of that bridge there, because that is a really powerful position. You utilize the billboard that's in front, that side doorway, as you can see, just to the right-hand position there. So there's a lot of coverage that you can utilize, and I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of value that can be brought utilizing that over-the-top positioning that you can take. The other part of it, too, is once you mainly get that position, if you can stagger them out just enough, it allows you to basically guarantee that initial first checkpoint so that you can now start looking towards the rampway, which is the next hurdle across this map. As we wait to see what the attackers are going to bring to the mix here, you can see that there is possibly a selection of the Wrecking Ball, and I can see in the distance, I see a Junkrat and an Echo. So it does look like that we're going to have some cheeky play coming out here from Utah.
Hey, production, is there any chance we could not be looking at... Thank you, I appreciate it. Here it is. The triple mine over the top of the issue is that the Broncos know how to deal with this. They can anticipate it. If people push forward intentionally to identify if they were going to do it. We lose Matt Merck, but then we clean up to take out Cats. Now Rose Dog, trying to get entry in here, does manage to get a pick onto Daydream, who overstayed her welcome in an environment that wears too much damage. And that comes down to positional mistakes on the side of the Broncos. They can't bunch up into this composition. They're going to surround and conquer. That's exactly what they did.
I was going to say, if Clear pulls this off, I would be amazed. I mean, it's not something I would be shocked of, but I would just still be amazed. And you're absolutely right, though. The big thing, too, is that the fact that when you did have the Junkrat leap over the wall, they just were able to get that trap tossed out into the small room that locked down the Mercy play from Daydream, which was preventing them from escaping, which then, once you had that second support eliminated, it was all downhill from there.
Now we have Ball mess up their ability, but Lyric goes down to cast the Mercy pocket. Broncos getting a little too silly here. They shouldn't be dying before the full fight engagement even started, and they're going to be punished. Kiriko jumps in, uses Swim Step, and uses Suzu. That's a mistake on the side of Utah. All cooldowns gone. Kiriko's easy pickings. Now Kel's Pilot Diva will also go down. Epoch reses Billy. So right now, things are in favor of the side of Utah, especially with this point being locked down by mines.
You can see a lot of space gained, checkpoint reached, everything for Utah really starting to work into their favor, and this is why we lean into this map for them, because it seems that they are very knowledgeable about how to play this. They know what they need to do to work their way through each one of these checkpoints. This is, again, as I mentioned earlier, a big hurdle position. This rampway can be so challenging to work through if the defenders are able to hold an anchor around this main column and utilize this window that Matt Merck's going to continue looking for to try and get a couple of shots on this elevated character.
I think right here, Utah has just made a fatal mistake, and that is staying on the cart as opposed to going forward.
Oh!
Rear catch off the blade. gets deleted by Clear, as does Epoch. He says, no, you're going to the spawn room. Let the dragon consume what? Let the dragon consume you, as Clear cleans up the next one as well in the form of Rose Dog.
Hey,
It's big shutdown like those that really help the entire squad out, and Clear being able to make those extremely vital plays for Boise State. Now they're at a position of where they have the ultimate advantage because they stifled one. They can start to rotate these out. Merc approaching theirs. Everything starts to fall in place here for them.
Rose swaps back over towards the Wrecking Ball, using to abandon the Sigma. Not sure if it was advantageous, but Warrior with the Echo Copy comes in, drops the self-destruct. Bunny Blasters one, tries to squish another, is unsuccessful. Ball is at 1 health. We lose the real tank, and the Echo Copy expires as Lyric gets res and Kel finds Warrior.
Yeah, the res was really important to get that back online, and just the sustained healing that came through from the Valkyrie by Daydream allowed this fight to start going in their favor, because if that's not popped in this point and you don't get that spread healing, it's undeniably Utah's fight. Now holding them again here. That's an early Suzu. They've lost that and now have to wait, and that's why you see Kel play a little bit more aggressive here. They know they can do it for free and get this damage until their cooldowns are back online.
A lot of KDCos will use Swift Step and immediately follow up with Suzu, and that is something that I'm sure the side of the Broncos have determined Billy is very guilty of doing. I have witnessed it multiple times when this KDCo engages. They follow up the Swift Step with the Suzu, which is unnecessary in a lot of situations. It creates a win condition for the Broncos, and that's bait the Swift Step, bait the Suzu. There it is again, and Ball is running forward. No, Spuda can just easily be eaten by Kel's defense matrix, so Ball is going to die. They're back at spawn. Epoch's back at spawn. Genji, deflect and dash down again because they tried to push up when their team was responding.
I've also been really impressed by Kel's defense matrix capabilities on the support line. There is such a responsiveness to them to deny a lot of pressure onto Lyric and Daydream, giving them a window to continue putting out healing or to potentially get opportunities like either some damage by Daydream or this Bionate. Now Clear comes out again, nano boost into the overclock. The Kitsune Rush is absolutely crushed in front of our eyes. No one is in it because it is Clear who dominates it.
I mean, you nano boost a Sojourn in overclock into the middle of a Kitsune Rush. Everyone's going to back up. They're all going to scatter. No one's going to be in that lane, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, especially if it's Clear. You don't want to be in that rush. It is not going to give you enough to win in that fight. It is unfair. Clear in a 1v3 is to his advantage.
Nobody saw that from Rose Dog. That lamp was just, there for a brief moment. The minefield comes out into the pile drive, getting an opportunity to get an elimination with it, since the mines do have that slightly increased activation ratio to the timing that it previously was from the patch. Deflect now from Cats, looking to continue putting in damage to Kel. They get the DMEC. This is the first of 5 attempts now to work their way through this rampway with only 45 seconds to go.
45 seconds is one extra fight. Timing is always essential in the realm of Overwatch. Eva, though, our Kel did die pretty late. We have a pulse bomb online as well for Warrior with nothing but a Diva to eat it, and it is going to be whiffed. So Tracer, Deadeye is going to come out after the recall. We have the Deadeye pick up one despite the deflect, and Cats goes down shortly there after the clear. Broncos are going to claim the space again, and they're not going to allow the side of Utah to just walk up this ramp. They are pushing forward. They're going to go play touch the spawn door challenge. They know that they need the space control here and prevent anyone from going forward. And so we see that there is just an end-all be-all rush to touch the point. Can we get it? There's a flip off the point as well as Cats gets antied. Rose Dog goes down.
The other part of this too, we're seeing the value that Merc is bringing to the table. Like, even though we are seeing Clear do so much with the Sojourn, Merc on this Cassidy is making Rose Dog's day a living hell. This Wrecking Ball upon entry every time is being Fan the Hammer, Magnetic Grenade on their way out with a follow-up Fan the Hammer with a tumble reset. Like, there are so many times that we've seen Rosebud go from basically like 100 to 10% in a matter of seconds with the additional follow-up by Clear if they want to try and body and get that instant charge for a railgun. And because this Wrecking Ball is being eliminated so quickly, there's no real disruption that is being placed onto Boise. It's always an activation of the defense matrix or their defensive cooldowns. The Suzu comes out, everything. So now you have no ability to recover in the throughput portion of the fight.
Truly, we're seeing Utah heavily favor these attempted dive bombs, and the Broncos are just able to, face it down and understand what they need to do to win. Even though the Broncos are running a spam with a dive tank, they do not care. They know how to make it work, and I really want to see Utah stop trying to run this dive and instead swap over to the spam. And it looks like we're actually pulling out the monkey. Winston is here. He is at the corner. That is going to create a risky situation, because the thing with Winston is you use jump, you got 6 seconds. You're going to use bubble, that's the win. That's the go button for the Broncos. They understand what cooldown they're looking for, and the Winston easily hands one over on a silver platter. Additionally, we're going to have the Bastion, we have Bat, and we have Sim. We're going for a cattywampus close hold, TPing towards the spawn of the Broncos.
The question is, are they ready for it? You're going to see the damage be unleashed from the high ground. Cats now looking with a very clever angle, completely catching Boise State off guard. But now the adjustment comes in.
Yeah, I'm going to say that works for one fight, really. Broncos should make a swap here. They could make their own Sim Bastion swap. TP as Bastion over to the opposite high ground and bunker down. They get expelled inboard, but here's that pull from the JQ, and the bleed comes in. We haven't even expelled Axe. There goes Baptiste. Like I said, you get one fight, that's it. Now it's time to make an adjustment. Instead, it looks like they're keeping the Bastion. That's fine. Are they going to keep this Symmetra? No. They're going with a Hanzo. They have Zenyatta, Baptiste, and Rose is swapping over to the Sigma. They're going for spam, and that is what I was asking to see from them here.
I mean, real heads-up play by Kel, utilizing and playing to the very last second of that blade after the jump comes in by the Winston to bring them back down to the low ground and continue pumping damage into it and guaranteeing that Winston does not buy enough time playing that elevated position. And now with that opening, you have these adjustments and swap. It was almost about a minute taken off the clock, so it was still pretty decent because they're going to get a full recontest here, but they need to really keep an eye on where Clear is, because they are just getting free damage onto this tank line and shuts them down with this generated rail shot, and now has the overclock to boot.
Matt Merck goes down for the Broncos, but they are undeterred. They do not care. They're going to find the equalizer kill in the form of the Bastion. Cats goes down. That's checkpoint unlock, and here is where what can make or break this fight here on this hill. Pushing up and taking this space. We know that there's staggered spots. Broncos need to make a decision now. Are they going to play forward, or are they just going to let everyone come back? And it looks like they're choosing to let everyone come back, knowing that they were down their Tracer, who goes into play for that disruption, who really upsets the balance towards Zenyatta. With that Zen alive, trying to clean this space with the current comp the Broncos have, not in the cards.
That's a little rough. Gonna have the accretion come in with a follow-up here from the Baptiste, as there is a little bit of a side angle here. The Rampage is what I keep a watchful eye on to see if they're gonna commit it and bypass the shield. Oh, what a beautiful counter! But Matt Merck taking advantage of the back line. There's so much emphasis to deny the JQ's Rampage that it is just free fire and massive opportunity for Matt Merck to completely shut down everyone on the back line. That's a quad kill, mind you, of 5 that Matt Merck is able to play.
And an ult cancel. Sigma committed lift in a 2v1 situation with supports in the enemy team still alive. Not the best idea.
We are falling apart.
Measures. Kitsune Rush is going to be active with the overclock. Everything is voting in favor of Boise State. They've eliminated everyone upon entry. And you will have Boise State managing to take this a 3-0. And despite the efforts of Utah leading into this and the rivalry that you said has continued to develop due to relationships to the team, it is still going to be a dominant performance from them regardless.
It is a rivalry all in good faith, though. But of course, Clear is another play of the game. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a balance here between Clear and Matt Merck absolutely popping off. So with that being said, we'll give a quick congratulations to the Broncos. Of course, we know how this turned out. It was a 3-0 Utah State. Their record is now 3-4. This was semifinals. We're going to be moving very close to the grand finals shortly. They're going to be happening the 8th of April, so make sure you check those out. With that being said, Rich, you and I have one more job. I've been failing at predictions.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. Right. I'm leaning into what you say here. Player of the game. What do you
Oh well,
think?
now the tension's on me. Now the
Yeah.
tension's on me. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
goodness. I'm gonna say I'm gonna look into my crystal ball. I'm gonna think about it. You know, I'm gonna say Kel. I'm gonna say Kel.
You're gonna say Cal.
I'm gonna say Kel. I'm gonna say Kel because I'm thinking outside of the box. We know the DPS creates so much value in this, but we have to realize is that because the DPS gain this much value, it's because of the amount of space that is given to them to do the action. I'm gonna roll the dice
All
and
right.
see whether or not I'm right. I don't
Well,
know. I don't
Production
know.
is Rich right? Is
Drum
Rich
roll.
right in his prediction
Drum roll.
for player of the game, which is brought to you by the Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team
Ah!
successful. The Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game is going to be Clear. Congratulations, Clear. Thank you so much for being a dominant force here today for us, popping off, getting multiple three-piece combos. Next time I want the whole chicken. Get the ace. Give me the full rotisserie from Costco. With that being said, congratulations, Clear. You are the ICCU player of the game.
See, that was going to be my go-to. I'm not going to try and, take backsies or anything, but, that was my thought if it wasn't going to be Kel, because I was just thinking, there was some stellar tank plays. Again, the Wrecking Ball, the setup, everything leads into it, but Clear, absolutely. I mean, there were so many individuals from Boise State. This was a tough one. You could have literally rolled a dice and put a player's name to one of the numbers, and then 6 is just a wild card at that point when you're rolling the dice to see who's going to get it. But yes, I agree. Clear has done a fantastic job. We've seen them on the Tracer before do stellar work, but now we didn't even need to see it because every other selection was a massive win for them.
All right. Well, with that, Rich, do you have any big takeaways from today regarding over? Yes, Kel, we appreciate you. You were Rich's vote for player of the game. Just a heads up,
you were
Kel.
my vote. You were my
Yes,
vote.
Rich
Home
voted
slice.
for you.
I voted for you, my friend. Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love you too, Clear. I'm not saying I don't love you all, but I was just thinking, Kel. I gotta give credit to the tanks. That's all I do.
I appreciate it. With that being said, do you have any big takeaways today for Overwatch in particular?
I mean, the biggest thing is, continue on the trajectory that you have. I mean, the synergy that the team has together and the players that they have mechanically have really performed at such a high level. And again, with the individuals that we've seen across the board that have come from Boise State to play at higher levels in Tier 2, even in Pro-Am, that there is a lot of talent here, and just continuing to focus and make sure that you continue to hear the words of Doc and make sure that you keep them in the back of the mind, because that type of leadership helps get you where you are, and your own self-reflective skill is what's going to continue to also have you climb. So, I mean, can't say anything else besides just keep up the good work. Another day at the office.
Yes, the words of wisdom from the one and only Rich Rad. With that being said, that is the end of our Overwatch action. But we are going to have actually an interview with one of the players. But before we do that, we're going to bring you the top 5 plays of the game, brought to you today by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invite you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering $20,000 in bonuses and your degree of choice paid for. Enjoy these top 5 plays. Come back in a little bit. We'll have an interview. I'm pretty sure that loud noise we just heard was someone trying to say, I don't want to do the interview. Well, good luck. I'm not one picking. It's going to be Coach Moore. Either way, one of you will suffer on desk with me for an interview. See you on a little bit. welcome back to our broadcast here from the Boise State Esports Arena. You just finished watching our coverage. Hi, Jenny, the Daydream, who just waved at us. Watching our coverage of the Mountain West as the Broncos 3-0 swept University of Utah. Hi, Matt. And now you can see they're chilling out on stage, getting ready to wrap up, go home, and have a good rest of their evening. With that being said, we have one more thing to take care of, and that is interviewing Kellen McGurkin, one of our resident tank players here for the Broncos. Kel, how are you feeling after that match?
I'm feeling great. That was a great game. Great to play with the guys on stage for the semifinals and get the dub.
All right, so that means we are done with our